Hi, I'm Marianne. Welcome to the studio. Today we're making Christmas ornaments. And in this video, I will walk you through step by step. The first thing I'm doing is setting up my studio. You'll see that I have a half sphere piece of styrofoam. I'm going to cover that with aluminum foil. And basically what I'm doing here is creating a rack, if you will, that I can hang these ornaments on as they're drying through different phases of the process. You can buy the foam at an arts and crafts store, hardware store. And then I also use, you'll see that I use these skewers. You can get these at your grocery store, like in the barbecue section, or again at a craft store or an art supply store. And I just press those into the foam, creating a rack to hold the glass ornaments that I'm using as they need to dry or as I'm working on multiples at the same time. So I start off by, in this case I'm using glass ornaments. I've also used plastic. It's really, you really can't tell the difference. But in this case I'm going to use glass. And I take the tops off the glass, and then I use gesso to put on at least one layer. Sometimes I put on two, just to give a really nice solid finish on these ornaments. And I do that because we're going to put napkins, single ply napkins on top, as you'll see as we go through this video. But having that gesso gives it a really nice base, and it really sets off the application that we're going to end up putting on top. These are just different napkins that I have. I have many different napkins I've purchased from Amazon. And I'll create links to these supplies in the comments of this video. So these napkins I've purchased, many of them are 2-ply, some are 3-ply. And the first thing you need to do is just separate that out so you just get down to the single-ply napkin. And you'll see here that sometimes it's hard to separate them if you just kind of push on the corner. Usually you can find the separation there. You'll see some of the napkin patterns have Christmas themes, but I also use different themes. I have also napkins that have dinosaur themes and have made ornaments for kids. Most of these ornaments that I'm making here are for gifts for individuals, so you don't necessarily have to use Christmas napkins for this project. So the next steps are going to include tearing or cutting up the napkins and adhering them to the ornaments. And you'll see here that I'm using gloss medium, matte medium, and in some cases more of a heavy gel medium. Here I'm just selecting which napkins I actually want to use in this project. So I'm starting here with this French floral napkin, and basically I'm ripping out taking the pattern in the napkin and ripping out flowers, ripping out different areas with different color, and I am adhering those with the medium. So I put a little bit of the medium on to the ornament, and then I actually put the tissue paper on, and then I cover it again with medium. And then I continue that process. There I was tearing off the hard edges of the napkin just because in this particular ornament I want it to look like worn pages or torn edges. You'll see in another ornament that I've done, I actually cut out the shapes. I try and just be consistent ornament to ornament. So I'm tearing out more of the flowers and some of the purple areas. There's a bit of aqua blue, and then I'm using the medium to adhere those on. And I'm overlapping the edges on top of each other. And in some cases with some patterns, I'll do multiple layers. You just kind of put a single layer on, let it dry, and see how it looks. So I'm continuing to move around the ornament. adding additional pieces of napkin. That piece I just put on is a bit more of a quiet space. There's no floral in there, it's just more of a neutral tone, just to kind of break it up a little bit. Also, when you have patterns that face up or down, like if you have a bird on your napkins, you want to remember that you have to have those faced the right side, because as you're working on it, you're kind of working on the ornament upside down. So don't forget, if you use something with an animal or person's face or a figure of some sort, that you have it going the right way. Here is, I love these lemons, this lemon pattern, and you'll see here that I'm using scissors to parse apart the pattern. And I'm basically just trying to cut out different areas out of this napkin, logical areas, whether it's a set of branches or a single lemon. And in this case, I'm using scissors versus tearing them because the pattern's really tight. So it's a little bit easier for me to get in there with the scissors and do that. And then I'm just consistent as I work through this next ornament. I'm cutting out all these pieces versus the previous one that I tore. If you're enjoying this video, I'd really appreciate if you'd like and subscribe for more content. Also, please include in the comments if you have any questions, and I'll be sure to answer them. And you can either cut as you go or cut all the pieces out before you start, which I prefer to do. It's just easier once you start working with the medium and getting glue everywhere, or getting the matte medium or gloss medium everywhere. That brush that I'm using, I'll put the link in the notes section to that brush on Amazon. It's awesome because it's a really stiff brush. The bristles are stiff, so it makes it really easy to smooth out the application of the napkins. Here you're seeing another ornament where I've torn out birds and flowers. I love this pattern, and I'm just adhering it using either gloss medium or matte medium. Sometimes when I'm making these ornaments, I'll work on the top half or the bottom half, and then I'll put it back on the rack to dry before doing the other side. It just makes it a little bit easier to handle. And then you always want to go up a little bit up the stem so that when you put the cap back on, that's covered. You can also mix different types of napkins together. Really, sky's the limits. You'll see a transition here too, where I end up letting this dry, and then I end up putting a few extra layers right here of floral. This is another technique that I use where I put just plain tissue paper on top of the decorative tissue paper, and it gives it more of a cloudy look or a more of an aged look. So here I've already put this pattern is cardinals. I've already put those on and let it dry, and now I'm going over with just different scraps of tissue onto this ornament. Sometimes I'll do 2 or 3 layers of the tissue. This next technique is showing where I've added a little bit of gold leaf on top of the ornament. So after I've put the decorative tissue on and I've let that dry, I use a little bit of the medium to just put that in spots, and then using some of the foil on top. I then let that dry, and then I'm using this brush to kind of flake off anything that's not adhered to the ornament. This is a process where I'm actually covering the ornament with a matte medium. So I really like the way that these ornaments look. Many of the patterns look when I use a matte medium versus just using a gloss medium. And so you'll see here I'm just covering those with matte medium. And then the next step is to add ribbons after they're dry. I like to use different colored ribbons with different widths, and I basically put the top back on the ornament, and you'll see I'm going to cut a length of a double ribbon, and it helps to have something for those ornaments to sit on top of as you're tying those ribbons. And I put it through the loop, the wire loop, and then I'm trimming the ends on a nice angle. You can either trim them short or long, and you can also make multiple loops if you want, but it really finishes off these ornaments nicely. Here's another ornament that I'm adding ribbon to. It looks like I'm using 2 or 3 colors. And again, you just put the ribbon through the top loop. Make a nice bow. And it finishes the ornament very nicely. And here are some of the ornaments finished. This is really a fun project, especially around the holidays, and these make wonderful gifts. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.